Recording. All right, we are recording. Hey, Dave.
All right.
Thanks for coming on
Hello.
the channel. How's it going?
Yes, really good, really good. I'm so glad to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, great. Me too. Yeah, so what's going on?
Oh, not much, just business and stuff. I was talking earlier, got back from the dentist today, so kind of proud of that.
Cool.
Getting some forward moving in the dentist stuff. And then business, life, overall doing good. Just a lot of growth, like in our own personal life. Watching Shan, especially my best buddy Shan, like just processing her emotions and leveling up and dealing with the tribe and all that kind of stuff. So overall, It's been really good.
Well, we were talking about the Facebook stuff just before I started recording, and it sounds like Shan is doing really, really well after processing all of that.
Yeah. It's been really something to watch. Like, you're watching your best friend go through like a growth spurt, like just so hard to like overview and come in, but like just like over the years in any business, you just kind of get sick of the same stuff or worn down or trying to just manage a million things, Yeah. And so like there's a tension building up of just interactions that we'll have with people, certain people, specific people, or groups of people, or of just negative, whether they're really good people that are just having some disagreement or whatever, but like just you as the one sitting still, like we don't get to go home from objective personality. Like everybody can kind of log in, hang out for a while, then they can go back. Like we don't ever get a break. Like we're here 24 hours a day. And so like over the years, it just kind of wears on you of like, negativity from your own perspective or whatever, whether it's right or wrong or whatever. So it's been like 3 years now. So Shan like finally was getting to the point to where she's starting to bring up and address some of her own frustrations of like, okay, I really am annoyed by this, or I disagree with that, or this person's bugging the hell out of me and not stopping, or whatever it was. So it was kind of like it seemed like she's got enough of her TE stuff done that she started to kind of bring up the FI emotions, Mm-hmm. And then from there, then it was her kind of going, all right, I'm going to start dealing with this. And then it was kind of in a half conscious type of mode, I guess, where like I'm going to solve problems or frustrations I have with the tribe with TESE. So I'm going to smack at people or punch back or STM back or whatever. And then, that doesn't go so good. And then from there, it was like, she's like, okay, I have a lot of emotional processing to do. So I was watching her kind of just go through the whole like journey, like within a 2-week period of time of like getting a lot of like pain and frustrations out and then up to the conscious level. And then it was like when she like then really switched over to like, I don't know how else to describe it, but like FE mode. It was like TE plus FI. So not only was she getting her own emotions and frustrations up to the surface, which is like, the hardest for FI at the bottom, fourth function. And then from there, it wasn't just like, okay, I did the bare minimum to deal with my emotions and I'll just do some TE work and it'll go away and, maybe it'll come up later and I'll deal with it then. It wasn't that. It was like now this like push of like offensive of like, okay, how do I now start going after people with love, talking to them, seeing what they're going through. And then it was just this whole, offensive, like you saw on the her with talking with Reggie the other day. Like it's like that. Like that's how she's now been, more so around the house, just a conscious growth in the FI. And the only way I could describe it is like FE mode, where her TE and FI are working more together. So it's been crazy. It's been crazy to watch. Like, so you're watching your best friend go through something that's challenging, tribe drama bullshit, right? And then going through the pain and then going through the level up and the fruits on the other side of it. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of what I've seen.
It was really, so I watched the interview on Reggie's podcast with Reggie and Shan, and it really got me processing just like how deeply the FIs feel compared to the FEs, because like just the amount of like intensity she had and the love that she was giving was just on an entire another level, like really and truly compared to the FEs. It's just it was like so intense.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't experience. But
I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. I like talking with you the past few months and talking with some other people, like for us to get a more understanding of what FE is doing and then TI as well, because we'll look at the TIs the same way. And like, it's been a wild ride for us to go, what the hell are the TIs really doing? And then like you go through like, it's almost like stages of grief or whatever, where at first you're like, well, that's dumb and that's silly, or I don't like that. And then you finally get down to this acceptance, like, wow, I really would like to build my ideas 50 layers deep. Like you get like some admiration for that function, you know? And so for the FI, we've had a hard time seeing the FI because we have FI. So like, as we started to see TE and TI and FE, then we're like, oh, we're stacking emotions like really deep. And so we would see it in other FIs, especially in a negative sense. That's just like the best way to track functions is like look for the negative version, because the negative, the hurt, the painful, the fearful, it's more extrovert, it's more aggressive, it's easier to see. So it's like the FIs, ourselves included, it's like we'll get hurt 10 years back, 10 steps back. And like that it's just like holding a grudge. Like whoever came up with the phrase holding a grudge, you know, in the 1800s or whenever they came up with it, like I bet they were dealing with some FI, probably masculine FI person in their life. Like, damn, why are you holding on to this grudge? Why are you holding on to this pain? Why are you holding on to this hurt that you have that is not rational? Because when you go to like explain what reasons do you not like the Zoom software or whatever, you're like, oh, well, I can't remember that if I trace back this one time I was trying to set the settings and then I got embarrassed or what, like your brain just like forgets that. But whatever the event is, you'll lock onto some pain and then move forward and then just throw fake TE reasons at it. So it's like by the time the FIs like get down to the core of like, why am I hurt? Why am I frustrated? Why am I being negative? It's just and then it's also like really embarrassing because like Shani and I will do this as well as both FIs. Like we'll have projects or issues like as a couple that we'll fight with for years, and then as we're learning more about this growth, we get down to it just like, oh well, I just got really scared or really hurt early on, you know, like, you know, the first time 10 years ago when we started packing boxes to move from California to Oregon, like we had an argument, and then like forever, if there's a moving box in the everybody's scared, like, but you just don't remember that, you know, like that emotion and that pain from that fight 10 years ago stays forever. And then every time you see a U-Haul truck, you're scared and you're shuddered and like, you don't know why. So getting down and unpacking that. Yeah.
And it's funny because I feel like if you were just to like tell me that, just like verbally how you explained it,
yeah,
my response would be like, oh, of course, like I identify with that. I feel like I feel like that. I do that. There are little things that happen that will piss me off, and then my emotional state will go off, and then I kind of won't know why for a while, and it'll like I'll carry with me, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I get that.
Right.
But then when I see the FIs actually like really truly talking about it, I'm like, oh, not only is that an intensity that I don't experience, the intensity is different, but then also especially having like FI as a demon, the unconsciousness of it, I also am like, oh, that's also way more unconscious than I'm aware of. Because for me, like the timeline of something like that is like, I don't have things like that are like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I will have things like that are like a week ago, a month ago, you know, that I'm like, that stupid thing that happened a month ago that I'm pissed off about. Now I know, and like I'm processing it, but I don't have that from like 10 years ago that are to that intensity.
That's what it's doing. That's how we see TIs. Like we'll talk with TI, your favorite TIs, and we're like, oh yeah, great idea. And like we'll just dance off. I'm like, oh, I also have great ideas that I build my life around. But like when you really talk to the TIs, like, no, this is a whole nother level of intensity. But it goes both ways too, because it's like the FI can also lock onto positive emotions. Like you see, like a lot of the guys I follow, like, you know, bodybuilders, like, you know, Low SE here, like, you know, Hulk Hogan or Sylvester Stallone, like the big muscle guys from the 80s or whatever. A lot of the bodybuilders I'll see that have FI, they'll be like, oh, I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was a kid and I saw this movie on Navy SEALs or whatever, and they'll get this like, so like movies and heroes and positive emotions at a young age especially will have a real positive impact on them, and they'll just lock onto this powerful emotional state at 10 or 11 years old and be like, oh, I just want to relive my life chasing and finding that ultimate positive emotional experience. And like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tony Robbins, Jay Cutler, bodybuilder, these are all people with FI. Sylvester Stallone. Like when you listen to their stories, like that's literally what they're saying. People are like, oh yeah, cool, whatever. Like, no. Like they really watched some movie when they were 10 and then emotionally locked on, and that was it.
Yeah.
And all the TIs are like, no. There's some oh, is it like there's some ideas or reasons or truth to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, nope, no,
Kind of
I'll do that
some
along the way.
reason. Yeah.
It's so it is very different. It is very intense.
Yeah.
The
It's
difference between
also, so I was talking to Rose about this just yesterday. She called me after Reggie's podcast, and she said something that was really interesting. I want to hear if you resonate with this. She was saying that it kind of sounds like the FIs connect through their FI, and the TIs, like when they really care about someone, they will connect through their TI. Because the FEs, it feels like we're giving kind of FE love to everyone fairly equally. But the TI, the way, I think what Rose says, she was like, I give my neighbor the same amount of FE that I give you. But like, if there's someone that I really care about, I will try to understand what they're going through and then get a PhD in their problem and try to like solve their problem for them. And like, that's how the TIs connect to someone versus the FIs connect through like this really intense like love that the FEs just don't understand. Is that what you've experienced?
Yes, very much so. Did Rose send you an audio on that?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I think I got the same audio last night. Yeah, Shani and I listened to that. Like it was the last email we listened to last night, and like Shani wrote it back real quick, and Shani's like, "Well, I'm gonna have to process that," because it was exactly what you were describing, and because Rose was saying that like, yeah, I'm gonna just blast back to you what you two said, like that, like if I'm really trying to connect with somebody, she even said like I'll SITI. You know, I'll introvert, do something for them. And then, Shani and I are like, damn it, that's what they're trying to do. Because like, we'll see like, we'll see a savior FE come into our lives and they'll be like, la, 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 this thing. Or like our TEs will be like, whatever. And we're like, oh shit. Like that's where they're really trying to connect through their work. I know my dad's that way with the TI. God, this is like therapy, like processing this, like it's such, the most bonding thing that I have with my dad is like, if he comes over, in fact, he's probably going to come over this summer. And like, I'm like, there's like a, what is it? There's like a light switch thing I want to change out, So before I like zap myself, I want to like have him help me out with, hey, can you help me change this switch out on the new house? And so like do it like some type of active, like my dad coming in and helping me switch out the light. Like to me, I'm like, TE done. I got 50 of these, who cares? But to him, it's always like this really weird, like bonding, like we changed the light thing together, Yeah. So I think, Rose's audio, I think she was like dead right on. Because now like playing that back, like, oh, that's why this TI person or this SI person, like think of like Savior SI, they'll like they're going to connect with you when they show you their stamp collection or whatever, if that's in their, if they can share that in their, invite you into their inner world, which is why it's like if you shit on somebody's inner world, they're like you're done being friends, And like with FI, like if you don't like In-N-Out Burger, then we're not your friend. And like we're like totally. dead serious about that. The new kid Michael, like he's from Iowa, and we took him to In-N-Out, and we're just all excited because they have one close 30 minutes from our house, and we go like twice a week. And we told him like, oh, these are the best. We love it. And like, he's in the car eating. He's like, oh, these are okay. I don't know why they're that big of a deal. And like, that has literally bugged me ever since. And like, next time I see him, I'm gonna be like, dude, listen, you have to like In-N-Out, or like, you can't play around with that. You can't be like In-N-Out's not, it's okay. Like you can't, like, we just won't invite you anymore. And like our relationship will suffer. And like, I can like say that shouldn't be, but it's like, if we obsessively love In-N-Out, and if a person like spits on In-N-Out, like we can try and play the reasons, but it really does hurt. It really does like ding the relationship. Isn't that crazy?
That's so funny. That's so crazy. That's interesting that you would feel that way with NI-FI. I would think that'd be more SI-FI, but I guess it's just FI in general. Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, I think like FI-SI would be even more intense of like, I physically love this SF burger, so they would have it even more. Yeah, I know. So so like so it's like saviors, right? Those are a really big deal. And what are other big deals? Where the masculines land, that's a big deal, right? And where the introverts land, I think they might be more important than the saviors. Because like, I keep thinking about what you said months ago of like how your you're FI. Everybody has a baby. Everybody's really FI. And I'm thinking that's kind of really whether somebody's double extroverted or whatever, it really does seem to come down to a person is just trying to get their inner world sorted out. They're trying to get their inner world and their outer world to line up. So like friendships are with like, if you align with my weird subjective inner world, then we're friends. Then we're very close friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think of it more as like, in terms of like the FI thing, I think of it more as like we're all driven by feelings. Like it's all our feeling function that we're trying to basically like satisfy by all the things that we're like doing bullshit in the outside world. And it's all like an introverted feeling function that we're trying to resolve internally. That's the driver for everyone. It's like even like both of the introverted functions are like really, really important. My SI is important. My TI is important. But like my FI is still above those. It feels like it's still running the show, the FI.
Yeah. That's what I seem to guess to be true. Like in sales, they're like, there's no such thing as TI in sales.
Yeah.
Everybody's FI. And that's the weirdest thing. That's where we originally, found these patterns is like, if you build a sales campaign around everybody has FI, or even FIFE, it's going to work. If you build it around TI, that like there's somebody out there making decisions based on truth and rationality, and like no, it's not going to show up in your sales number. No one's going to buy that. They're gonna buy based upon this makes me feel better. This makes me feel more valuable in the tribe. I'm not missing out. And then it's like if you're a thinker, then you're just burying more weird bullshit reasons to kind of cover that up. Yeah. Because a lot of the savior feelers are like, oh yeah, I'm getting it because I love it. I'm getting it because it makes me more popular. It's like the savior FSs are just like, or SF, they're just like, yeah, I want to do this. And I don't have all this extroverted, logical reasons that I don't really believe. It seems to be that way.
Yeah.
It seems to be the F is the more powerful driver, the feeler for everybody.
Totally.
Yeah. I don't know, weird people, contradictions.
It's weird. Yeah. So, okay, I really want to talk to you about my how I've been seeing my own ST sleep. Because I feel like I've been kind of seeing it, what seems to be like clearer and clearer and clearer, and how like my sleep last kind of just affects my own behavior.
Sure.
So, okay, so it feels like, so I'm seeing my ST sleep as like building like systems for how I use tools in reality and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it feels like the sleep last is like what actually sort of prevents me from actually doing that building. Is it starting to feel like anytime I do something, like do a task or an action or something, like right after I do that, it's almost like my brain just like wipes it away as if it's making me forget.
Right.
So like, it's crazy. So like, for example, I was doing the dishes the other day and I walked up to the sink and I had like 3 sponges there that I always keep there. I've always kept there for forever. And I had this moment of panic of like, what are these sponges for? What am I supposed to use these sponges for? How do I use these sponges? Like, how do I do this? Yeah. And it only was, like a millisecond. And then I was like, okay, I can like.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah.
But it feels like my brain is literally like, you've never used sponges before. Like you don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's starting to feel like, the best way I can describe it is it's starting to feel like my life is like my first day at a new job. Yeah. Like I'm jumping in, there are a whole bunch of jobs to be done, a whole bunch of tasks. I don't really know like what all the tasks are. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I'm like ready to jump in and like figure out how to do the thing. Right. But, like everyone else around me thinks that I've been at this job for 30 years. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm the new kid. I just learned how to do dishes 30 seconds ago. Like, I don't know. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that kind of like with that, does that make sense to you?
It really does. It really does. It's definitely what we're seeing in our friends or people we've been watching that are sleep last. Like, look at Tom. It's like, he's like, go scroll through the amount of people that he's interviewed. And like, why is he sitting there every interview? Like he's just never heard this stuff before, and then like just this mind blowing, listening to Sadhguru, just here's how the universe works, or here's how people work, or whatever. Just like stuff that's very deeply like worldview changing. It'll take a lot of processing, and then it's like boom, on to the next. And we'll see that with our our worker guy Michael. He's sleep last as well, and Cody, our 10-year-old, he's sleep third, and it is a lot of exactly what you're describing of like it's the next day, and it's like, what are the sponges for? You're like, hey, we've gone over this again and again and again. And yeah, it just seems like the sleep last also too, like the sleep last definitely, like we're seeing this in the data of like the old cliche of like the type A personality or extroverts are more dominant in the business world. It's so true. It's like the sleep last has an advantage of like they're most likely going to be able to get the most amount of work done. And as far as like the business world and stuff, like just being able to kick ass in the outside world, and we definitely like see that very strongly in the data. But then it's like the downloading of that sleep information. Like, so for example, you have TomTom as like one side of the board where he's getting this world level information, and then he's just on to the next for the next one, right? So I was watching this one video of this guy that'll be coming up in a class in a month or two, and he has sleep first and consume last. And he talked about, and I saved the clip because it was so good. He's like reading this book on, it's like a condensed book of like Bible teachings or whatever. And he got to this, got 2 pages in, and he hit a phrase that said, everything about human existence is about fear versus love. This binary coin of fear and love. And he has a lot going on in his life. And he said, I had to stop because it resonated, like, oh my gosh, he's an older guy. He's like, I'm seeing that in real life. That's very true. He's like, I had to put the book down for 9 months to a year to just process that one thing. He just said that he just keeps going. But it's so funny because it's like the save or sleep, and then you combo that with consume last, so that's like a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
But I think like, the play last, like double activated sleep, they have it more. It's just like, okay, so here's something that just came in. And if it gets in, so if you're consume last, that's going to be a little harder, but it's another issue. But it's like, once that information gets in, it's then like, whoa, I got to process that. Like there was a Seinfeld episode where like, it was some weird episode where he was talking about like possibly dating 2 girls at a time or something like this. I don't remember. It was some weird, dating relationship thing. And Jerry's like, oh no, I can't do it because I'll have to change my clothes and I'll have to change my wardrobe and I'll have to start talking different and I'll have to be in a different identity. I got to change my car. And so just like the sleep going, whoa, if I take that in, if I actually learn how to do sponges or whatever, then that means that I'm going to have to order sponges every month. I'm going to have to get good at them. I'm going to have to dial them in. I'm going to now be known as the sponge person. So it's like the sleep energy is like taking that information or taking that action and going, oh my gosh, this changes my entire wardrobe, my entire life. I'm gonna need to like process that for 10 months before I fully, because it's, if I let it in, like, and this is again, it's partly consume last talking here. If I let it in, it's gonna change everything about me forever. I'm not allowed to forget about it. I'm now known as this person that has the saying of fear versus love, and I have to carry that on forever. So the sleep is, it's changing you're updating your identity and your habits,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and it's making more sense why, like, yeah.
Because if I take on the habit of like, here's how I do the thing, here's how I do the dishes, then that's part of my identity. That is who I am. I am the person who does the dishes in such and such a way.
I know,
like,
right?
My brain is
right.
like, run away from that at all costs.
I think so. Yeah. Because it makes sense. Like, so look at the extreme. So look at somebody who's sleep last versus play last. So double activated play versus double activated sleep. So be like yourself versus Jerry Seinfeld, right? So it's like the double activated play, they seem, because I see it in Shan, she has play high, where it's like they can just get stuff done right now. Like they don't. And so
I'll just fucking do the dishes right now. Who cares if I know how to do the dishes? I don't care.
Yeah, right. And like you scale the numbers up over 20 years, and that wins. Like the person who's just ready to go and like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll do it. Like they may look a little silly to the introverts, but like they just get more shit done. It's sloppy as hell, and everybody laughs at them, but they're way ahead of everybody else that's moping around.
Yeah.
So but it seems to come at a cost versus like, sleep high or double activated sleep or play last or whatever. That's the turtle where they're like, whoa, hold on. So sponges, but I've been using a wand thing, and I've invested 10 years into wand things, and I've gone all in. I've researched it and I've downloaded, and I'm the wand guy, and now I got to be the sponge guy. Well, now I got to retool, and so like it just slows them way the hell down, So I think there's a obviously there's a pro and con to it, but I think that's because I'll see that in our buddy Michael, where it's like he's so geared to like, let's just go now, let's do it now, let's figure it out now. Let's not commit to one way, because now if that one little turtle way isn't needed in the future, we're stuck. We can't adapt fast enough. Because what if tomorrow it's 2 sponges rather than 3 or whatever,
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Like, what's the purpose of building, because it's going to change so rapidly?
I know, right, right.
And then my OI and my savior play are like, that's when I get the contradiction, because my SI says build your systems in physical reality, and my play says it's going to change tomorrow. So do that.
Right. Yeah, I love it. You're on the Gray interview the other day, and you're like, my feminine SI is like the most ridiculous function. Like, I can't. It's not doing anything.
It feels like because I use my SI to blast, but I can't remember words. Like, I don't know what I'm saying, but I use it. It feels like the only thing my SI is useful for is like writing emails. I'm really good at writing emails, and like compiling docs for like teams to like do shit together. It's like that's it. That's all I got.
And then you forget it all because it's feminine.
Yeah.
And won't fight anybody on it. They're like, I don't want to do docs. Oh, it's okay. Those docs are movable. No, they're not.
Trash them. It's fine.
Yeah, totally. So like a play blast consume would have it, even more intense.
Yeah.
So like the other thing I'm seeing with the sleep blast is, because I'm also leveraging it off of, I feel like if I can ever, so there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 16 coins or whatever it is you're trying to look at, like the scope of psychology is huge, of all these different coins and animals and sexuals and all the rest. And it's like, I'm always desperately trying to like just grab 1 or 2 that I can get my feelers around. And so it's like, I can get my feelers around the consume and the blast, like those, because those are more extreme for me. Where sleep and play, it's not as easy for me to see, because they're like an autopilot for me, in the middle. And so it's like, I see with the consume versus blast that the way I describe it for myself is like, I have an overactive gland that gives me confidence falsely, and everybody has the same gland or same hormone or adrenaline or whatever you want to call it. And so like with Super Saver double activated blast, it's just like it's at full confidence spike all the time, and it's not right, it's not accurate, it's not balanced, And then the blast last is the other way around. It's like, oh my gosh, you're totally ready. So you've heard me say this kind of stuff a lot, And so if what I'm seeing from watching the sleep blast is that it seems to be like their gland receptors of like, hey, you're tired. Hey, you should download that. Hey, that is going to be a repetitive pattern. You're going to want like that gland, like the blast last. It's not signaling, hey, time to stop, time to slow down. You do want to download that one. You do want to process that one. It just kind of jumps all the way over the top of it. Because like, all the other types
will use this tomorrow. Like, this is something that you will use tomorrow, so it's worthwhile to invest in it right now.
Right,
so
Right, and all the other normal people, meaning everybody that's not in your quadrant, so like, everybody who's not blast last for me or whatever, all the other people are like, oh yeah, obviously you'll want to download that. Obviously you'll want to put the brakes on. Honestly, obviously you're a little tired. You'll want to process that or rest or whatever. And the super activated play is like, nope, I'm going to jump over that too, because it's like everybody has an animal that they're doing way too much. The blast is just way too self-confident to get started or whatever. So along those maths, it's like I haven't got any leverage by trying to trap my double activated blast by trying to manage my feelings by going okay, so look for when you're too confident and ready to jump in, even though you haven't researched nothing. Like I can't catch any of those. So but like using like timers or teamwork or goals or tasks, or like trying to create like an artificial exoskeleton around me. So it's like my blast will be like, yay, let's go. And then it'll hit a wall that I put up ahead of time, which is, be done with work by 5 o'clock or whatever. So like, oh, oops, I can't go start a giant project right now at 4:30 because I put a blocker on, be done with your crazy shit by 5 or whatever. Or just as many different things as I can to try and keep the the hyper blast from staying within the fence because I don't have a natural way of balancing it. So I got to create an artificial way, you know? And I'm seeing it the same with the sleep blast of like, look, you're never going to feel like it. You're never going to feel like, oh,
Yeah.
now's the time to process, or now's the time to download, or now's the time to get the sponge routine. Like, it's just not going to feel like it. So it's like using objectivity to try and create an exoskeleton to track and trap yourself, and then just make yourself do it. And then knowing that your body's going to hate it, not want it, you're like, well, tough. Like, this is something that I'm seeing that I do have to absolutely download or whatever, or the world is trying to beat into me that I should download it. Because then it's like, once you trap yourself, then you can do it. Once you know, like, oh, I do need to download this or whatever, like, yes, you know, say for double activated play, like, yes, it'll take you forever, and yes, you'll talk too much, and yes, you can only get like 2 minutes of it, but whatever. Like, you'll eventually get it once you trap yourself in. Same with me with like, once I know I have to consume this information before I go, it's like, I'll take the long way and I'll complain and I'll make it hard and I'll only do 10 minutes at a time. But if I know, like, I have to get this done, I have to consume this before I go on, like, then I can eventually do it, you know? So anyways, just trapping yourself in with just feels like an exoskeleton, you know, because whatever it is that you have double activated, it's not getting the normal, hey, let's slow down and balance this. Therefore, you got to create that yourself. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, it does. And I think I got to start doing that. I haven't really done that, at least not recently. I was trying to do that a lot last year. Like, I had sleep docs that I was like working on. I got a whole bunch of like timers and shit that I would like set for myself to like make myself work for a certain period of time, like yada, yada, yada. But I realized like my brain was still trying to like make me run away from like my sleep.
Yeah.
I think I need to start getting back into that now, because I kind of think I could like get away with that now. But at least last year I was like, I would like do it and then like let it drop. But sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for me, it's like, because it is like, I like to race to the bottom. So it's like, I'm the worst of the worst. So I'm just going to be the worst student of all this. So I'll set the goals of like 1 a week, or like really, really, really low. Cause I know if I can consume something new, or so first cause who cares? Like, I'm working on myself. Shut up. No, you're not. You're just going in circles. You're not doing anything. It's like, I first got to set goals and then know that, okay, to pass those goals, to get that level up, I'm going to have to get my imbalanced functions. Just same with Shani. Like, okay, if I'm really going to have emotional positivity with the tribe, shit, I'm going to have to FE is going to force those to work together, you know? So it's like, I'll set it. That's why I'm very, very careful on like what I commit to. Like, you know, like, why is it taking so long to get a new website or the business? Like, because I'm trying to set the bars. I'm trying to set it so low because I actually have to get it done. You know how hard it is to get your animals to work together? I'm not going to do 10 of those at once. It's like, because I'm going to kick and scream and rebel. It's going to take me 100 times. So it's like, I just like to cheat by making my goals very, very low and very, very spaced apart, because I know I'm going to need 10 tries of kicking and screaming and squirming till I get it. But then I'll finally get it. And then I've got that solved, and I can slowly go to the next one. And that's why I see a lot of people is they'll like try and do too much all at once, and then they get their ass kicked and like, oh man, well, I'll work on this later. It's like, man, you can have because it's subjective. Like, who cares? Like, you're doing great. We're all doing great. Everything's fine. This is all just self-growth. It's extra credit. So like, there's no emergency. Set the goals really, really, really low, because it is so much worse than you think. My double activated blast, your double activated play, it's so much worse than our liar brains are telling us. And then as soon as we go to do a task, you get some hint on how hard it really is. And so you got to have a buffer of like, oh, I'm going to need 10 times the amount of time to actually get this done than I thought. So don't have anything else on my schedule, you know?
So that's one things that has actually been working for me. And I know you just said like one of the things that hasn't worked for you is using your feeling function. I feel like I have been trying to use my feeling function, and it has been working somewhat. So like for me, when I think about the demons, it feels like so much of the demons is that like there's pain associated with doing them. And when I think about like someone like Byron Katie, right? Byron Katie didn't like, work on her TI or anything.
Yeah, right.
What she did is she like removed all of the pain associated with doing her TI.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things that I've been doing is like, I can feel when my brain is super scared and like trying to make me run away from like looking at, my own actions. And what I've
Yeah.
been doing is trying to like, when I feel that feeling of like my brain is scared to run away, just like calming my emotional state and then actually like looking at that. And even if it's like a teensy tiny little thing, but like basically in like almost like an NLP kind of way,
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
just like force my body to know like it's not painful to just like look at those like really easy things, like even like teensy tiny little things. Like when I have like tasks to do, what my normal default is like write down the task and then be like, oh my god, thank god it's on paper, and then never think about it because I like don't want
Sure.
to look at that. But just like forcing myself to like actually like look at that and then tell myself that it's not painful.
Right.
And I've actually had some really good luck with that. I've only been doing it for like a month or so, but it's like it helps me keep those questions in my head, like my TI questions of the things I need to do or the things I need to answer, or
Yeah.
just like mulling it over so I can keep it in the back of my head. And so then I
Right.
don't like, because normally I feel like when I in my default state, like I'll wake up every morning and like I literally won't even know like the next steps to take, like when I get out of bed, like to that
Yeah.
level of like I don't know the SIT of like what do I do when I get out of bed today, like I don't even know.
Yeah.
But having like telling my brain that it's not painful to actually like think about those things, like even the night
Yeah.
before, then I wake up the next morning and at least know like the first tiny task that I'm doing in the morning, even if it's like
Wow.
like a tiny little thing, like I need to do the laundry this morning, or like whatever it
Yeah. Yeah.
is. So I find it's
Yeah.
really been helpful to like just allow myself to like look at that stuff. I
Yeah.
still
That
don't want
makes
to do it. I still fucking hate
right.
it. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
do the laundry when I get up. I hate it. It
Yeah.
sucks. But it's like I know what the task is and I'm not scared
Right.
about it.
Yeah, that's really good. That makes a lot of sense. I was thinking about that. Like, so like with Shani, I'll see, because I'll be able to do some of that with Saver FI, of like
Yeah.
at some times to some degree when I finally see like, okay, I got to get this done, I can kind of emotionally NIFI. It's like almost like I can simulate out the task in time, and I can feel like I can like walk through it a few times, and then therefore it feels more known. And then once it feels known,
Oh
then I can
yeah.
do it. So I'm like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I can get access to these functions to try and like cheat or get around it or whatever. And so I see that with Shani. It's like, okay, she can do way more than me as Saver masculine TE.
Mhm.
Like she was the one that always got like top grades in college and high school. And, I barely got through high school with a 1.8 or 2.8 or yeah, like 2.0 GPA or whatever. Like in modern times, I definitely should have been failed, but it's the 90s. So they'll just like pass them through. So it's like the thinking is harder for me compared to her. Right. And she can get more done. But I feel like what you're saying there is like, I can do some of that where I can kind of emotionally get myself a little bit more ready to then go do the thing that I may or may not do. And even if I do it, it's not going to be as good as her, but
Yeah.
not having the pain. And so, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was wondering about that. I'm like, because I'm watching the thinkers, then I'm seeing myself as FI. I'm like, oh, I bet you the FEs are doing this even better. Because it's almost like you can talk out your feelings on a spectrum and kind of work out the feelings and prioritize them, or see how rational this fear or feeling is, emotionally
Oh
first.
yeah.
And then go, okay, so it doesn't socially make a lot of sense that I'm level 10 scared with laundry, so that means I can probably do it or whatever. Just some kind of like emotional processing on the front end
Mm-hmm.
to then help you go do the damn thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. How real is it, how real is it to talk out the FE emotions? Like with TE, it's like, I don't know what the hell I'm thinking unless I'm talking it out. How much have you seen with that with FI or with FE? Of you processing your emotions by yourself versus processing your emotions talking it out with others?
It feels like I can do both. I feel like I can process my emotions by myself, but it's much more effective and efficient to process it with others. Like if I can actually talk it out with a friend on the phone or in person or whatever, it's so much faster and I can get so much more done quickly. If I
Yeah.
process it alone, I usually have to kind of simulate out conversations in my head, which feels like it just slows things down. But it's like an extroverted thing introvertedly.
Yeah.
So I can
Right.
do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Like I can get it done. I can make it happen. It's
Yeah.
just, it's not as effective.
Yeah. Yeah. A question on that. So my mom is FE, and a lot of my friends are like FE, and I feel like I feel like I'm starting to wake up to how much I'm missing the conversation. Just not paying attention to it. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, so like with TE, I know how the TE game goes, the TE conversation goes, right? So, if I'm hanging out with a neighbor and like he recently Gary, our neighbor Gary, he recently knocked down a huge tree. This is at the old house, and I still go over there, clean it up and shit. So like when it comes to like TE, it's like the game is I'm trying to process what's the best thing to do, and therefore it's a lot of pinging of I'm asking questions like, hey, how hard was it to knock down the tree, and how come it didn't go into the power lines, and what are you going to do with the wood, and are you going to sell it, or are you going to work on it, or if I had to knock a tree down, like, have you done this before? So I'm just trying to like ping and get kind of a spectrum of ideas that then kind of helps me resolve like, okay, so this is what I would want to do. And so I feel like if somebody's doing a TE conversation, if somebody comes over and starts asking me a bunch of dumb TE questions, I feel like I know the game. Like, oh, you're pinging, you're trying to figure things out, you're trying to process, you're trying to figure out what you want to do, and therefore I can like jump in and play the game of asking or answering dumb TE questions as the person's trying to calibrate, right? So I think like a lot of FEs, or like my mom in particular, will come in and try and play the FE version of TE. She'll come in and try and like FE and like, but like I'll like take it literally, or like, like if you say a TE, like what's better, the Makita or the DeWalt? And like the TI is like, how dare you? Or well, obviously this one. And like, I don't know. I'm just trying to make conversation or whatever. So I feel like I'm that guy with the FEs, where my mom will come in and be like, yeah, your cousin Sally, and then Judy, and then your brother. I'm like, and like I'll get weird. Like, why are you talking about this? And I feel like she's just trying to like FE ping a conversation. And so my question is like, and I can like barely see what TE's doing, but like, what the hell are the FEs doing? If you're trying to process, if you're trying to process your emotions, or you're trying to process feelings, and then you're doing it with the tribe, do you have any idea what like a traditional like conversation goes? Like, what do you say? Do you come in, do you ask about the weather? Do you ask like, how, like, do you just say, how do you feel? And then people are like, I feel shitty. And then what's the counter move to that? Like, how does
this actually play out?
How does it ever, like, if I'm actually paying attention, what the hell are the FEs trying to do when they're trying to talk out emotions with each other?
It feels like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of nuances to this, right? I'm sure it's not like one thing that we're trying to do, but it feels like, or like I can probably phrase it. There's my Annie. There's not one thing, but it's so it feels like we're trying to track the tribe's emotional state. Like, so I'll be talking to a friend, we'll be chatting about whatever, nothing. And then I'll be like, oh, hey, did you hear about Sally? And she did, like almost like in a drama way, like Sally did this thing. And did you hear about that? And that connected to this guy. And then like Bobby did something similar. And did you hear about that?
Right.
And what do you think about that? Oh, I did hear about Sally. And, Sally was feeling not very good about it. And I talked to her about it. And she said that she was hurt because this thing happened, and then there'll just be kind of a conversation like that. And it feels like the purpose is just to track the tribe's emotional state to see how that then affects kind of the greater, I guess, kind of community. Like if Sally is sat over here and you know that it was caused by Bobby, how is that going to affect Bobby? And how is that going to affect Bobby's relationship with Billy? And how all of these things affect each other?
Okay, great. Let
me too.
Yeah. Okay, great. So let me, because I'm actually listening, let me like slow you down and try and blast that back so I can like actually download that. So taking what you're saying, doing the math in, say from like a TI perspective. So a TI, so I'm Gary next door. I'm standing here with all my TI-ness, and here comes a TE, and they start saying a bunch of silly, stupid shit. Hey, what about this? What about that? And so from the TI's archetypal perspective, is they're like, you are a jack of all trades, master of none, which is a negative context, and you're sloppy and pragmatic, which is also kind of a negative context or stereotypes. Because I feel like when I do the TE thing around TIs, they're like, you're a jack of all trade, master of none, that's negative, get the hell out of here. And then I'm like, hey, you're not playing TE. I could tell you honestly what I'm doing when I hear my mom. I'm like, that's gossip. And gossip is in the Bible, and that's bad. And so I'm shutting down this conversation. And I'm realizing that like oh shit. So I think like the FEs therefore are like willing to get dirty. Yeah, they're willing to fucking gossip because they're trying to like get out the negativity to get that tribe balance, which is exactly what the TEs are. It was like, yeah, I have a bunch of dumb ideas. Yeah, it's very pragmatic and sloppy, and I'll jump to the other one and I'll abandon this one for that one, and I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, of course. And like we'll like own that negative context. So that would make sense why, because I feel like the FEs start talking and I instantly just shut it out, and therefore I don't know what the hell they're trying to do because I'm just like, that sounds like gossip. I'm running away. My FI doesn't like that. I'm shutting it down.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense.
And I feel like I have a very kind of blaster, like when I see the FIs doing that, because I notice the FIs doing that, and I have like a very blaster response. Like, you're not cooperating. You're being selfish. You're not in with the people. You're not cooperating with the people. And why are you trying to be an outsider when we're all trying to like be together?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it feels. And then the FI is like, why the hell do you want me to share my emotions? Yeah. Either I have negative emotions that I'm sure as hell not going to share with the tribe, and if somebody else has negative emotions, I don't want to fucking hear it. Yeah, like the FI, it's not even thinking about that. But like, now like watching Shani like lead this FE, crusade, it's like, oh shit. So that's like actually talking, because like Shani had to go through so much negative emotions and gossip and punching and all this stuff to then get to the positive thing. So it's like, once we go through it enough times, you're like, oh, that's why that's worth it. Because it's like the same with the TIs. I'm like, hey, if you guys would talk out your fucking ideas, I swear to God, we could get somewhere a whole hell of a lot faster,
Yeah. So here's just another example along the same lines. Like, I've heard this from a lot of the FEs. When there's someone in the group that their emotional state is negative, it's like the FEs will like lock on to that person and just like not be able to get their mind off of that person. And I feel like I kind of did that with Shan. When she was going through a lot of negativity, like with all the Facebook drama, I was like, oh my God, Shannon's in pain. Like, I'm so scared. This isn't good. And I was like kind of tracking her emotional state in the videos that you guys were posting, even though I know those videos weren't even current. So like, it doesn't necessarily make sense. But it's like, I was like tracking her emotional state. And then I feel like when I saw her on Reggie's podcast, and it was obvious that she was like fucking kick ass. And like, she's majorly gone through whatever her, FI emotional journey is and come out like way stronger. My FE was like, okay, cool. Shan's awesome. Shan's great. Right. And like now.
Unstuck.
Yeah.
Unstuck, and therefore can accomplish tribe unity.
Yeah.
Which is what because the FIs just are not thinking about tribe unity and the emotions. Because we're just like, if we can unite on these are the best ideas, then we're done. We can all go home and you can all deal with your emotions separate.
Yeah.
So goddamn, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So that's wow.
It also has
like process that.
The other side of like the FEs also have to process their own emotions. So there's one aspect of like we're trying to get tribe unity in like the emotional sphere, which is true. We're also doing that, but then we also have our own like internal emotions that we need to process, and it seems like the FEs do that very differently from the FIs. Like, I know you guys were processing like the FE hysterics in what class was it? The Kathy Bates class. You guys talked about
right.
Which is a really interesting phenomenon. So when you guys were first talking about it, my first thought was, oh yeah, I've seen that in the other FEs. I don't like that. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it for a little while. I was like, oh shit, I've done that. It was like I was trying to process like what really is that, and it feels like it's just like I know how inappropriate that is. I know that when I see the other FEs doing that, it's like, oh my God, that's disgusting, But it also feels like when your emotions are like extroverted, and especially if it's like at the top, like me, it's like if you have an intense negative emotion, it's like it just feels like you just have to get it out. You just have to get it out of your body. And it's like, for me, the fastest, quickest way to process my emotions is just like quick and dirty, like externally, just like vomit it all out. And then eventually those emotions will kind of like, stack up and get sorted and then like manage themselves and resolve themselves,
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
feels like the FEs are just like, get
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
emotions off, get them out
Yeah.
externally.
That feels more healthy, you know. That's yeah, we
Except
definitely yeah.
then it leads to like those big like chaotic outbursts, and it's like
Yeah.
I see why the FI, well actually I see why, like me as an FE, I see that and I'm scared too, like whoa,
Yeah.
that's, oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
but it's like but long term it's not the build up. Like in like
yeah,
either way is going to suck obviously, but it's
yeah.
like what we're seeing with the FIs is like they like so I guess reversing back the other way of like if we look at a list of 50 people that are very aggressive, very dark, very negative, very violent, like the common factor there is usually FI.
Oh
Is what we
wow.
is like yeah, like it'll get like or depression, suicide, like common factor is usually FI, masculine FI in particular. It's like people will just get locked in these negative emotional states, and then like the more they spiral, like the I really thoroughly enjoy the Myers-Briggsisms that are actually real or what we're seeing in the data. Some like the masculine ISTJ is somewhat real, like the RC field. Like I really did meet guys like that with the mustache and everything.
Yeah,
But again, not like again, feminine SI changes the game.
yeah.
Some of the archetypal INTJs are very real, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the ones is the gothic depressed INFP. Like goddamn, that is so real that they legendarily do hold first place for depression and deep negative dark emotions. The lead FI, and it's usually the INFPs in particular. They're like trapped in this inner dream world, and then when those emotions that are so intense and especially masculine, when they start getting like there's this they'll just get in a death spiral that can last decades. I mean, that was like almost what killed me. Like in junior high to most of high school, like I was just locked in a severe suicidal depression, like intense. And like looking back on it now, I'm like thankful that I made it through it, but also like, oh, that's what that is. That's what it looks like to be stuck in literally the most intense emotional state and then have it be negative and then have it never turn off. And it's a really weird thing because it's like you get no break from it. It's not like you get time off. It's like the most intense negative emotion 24 hours a day. It's all you're thinking about. It's all you're feeling. You're dreaming about it. You're sleeping about it. Every conversation is about it, and it just never turns off. It's just very, very intense. So contrasting that with like the FE throwing the emotions out, like say like on the far end of the spectrum, like double activated FE at the top, which would be you, would be the farthest side of that spectrum. So yeah, that's what we're seeing. It's and I remember learning that lesson later, which is another reason why we consciously chose when we started doing the personality videos to be aggressive, to swear. And if the community's bothering us too much, I'm going to fucking punch you. Because it's like, I'm not going to go back to holding and cauldroning super negative emotions in the identity. Now, I'd like to learn how to be more FE so the swings aren't as, but it's like, I'm not going back to like holding that shit in, even though when it comes out, it can be immature or TEOIs or whatever, but yeah, that's definitely something that we've seen for a long time. We're understanding more of like the FI can really hold those emotions, and that FE is spitting them out. And then, on all these damn things, like as much towards the middle as you can possibly trying to get yourself, I guess would be the goal there. But yeah.
Yeah, wow, that FI is so just so deep. I mean, it's just I just keep processing that. It's crazy to me just really how deep that goes. And I've seen that with the FIs, that once they get into like a hole, I mean, it's just like no one can take them out of it. And believe me, I mean, I've tried, much to their detriment, because they don't like their feelings poked.
Yes.
Like not knowing, not knowing. I'm like, hey, let's talk about it. Like, come on, hang off of me. And they're like, that's making it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of personal. Like one thing that means a lot to me is like in the and Shani touched on this. Like a lot of the people that we end up talking to every day are like people kind of like off the grid, off the record. They're not, it's just people that we end up meeting. And so one group in particular that I really enjoy talking to is the masculine FIs. And they could be anywhere from double feminine INFP to any type. But it's the kids that will come across that are very depressed, very suicidal, you know, borderline violent, aggressive. And it's like, I love that I can get through to them. I can connect with them because I come in through the realm of like, yeah, fuck everybody. Fuck this bullshit. The whole fucking thing does. And like, I can go and like sit in that negative emotion of pain and hate and aggression. And like, oh yeah, I've lived there for a long time, as well as I still have part of that still is my identity. I still have that dark masculine FI. It's like, it's what makes me, like, I don't say feel is not even a strong enough word. It's like, it makes me know that I'm not stoppable from the outside, like the outside world can't stop me. Because it's like, all I got to do is like turn on the fucking rage monster, and there's no logic, you know, that you can't logic it, you can't reason it, you can't people it, you can't outvote it. It's like you turn on that much aggression and hate and use it for a positive driving force. It's like, you know, the Predator versus the Terminator is like, you can't stop a force like that if you can control it. You know, so it's like, so for me, it wasn't like getting rid of all of that aggression and hate. It was like getting it down by 90%, but still like knowing that that's in there, you know, still there. And therefore being in touch with that darkness and that aggression, like when I do see the FIs that are in that hole that nobody else can reach, it's like, it has meant a lot to me that I can be able to kind of go in and talk to them. By first, you know, if you like In-N-Out, you got to share In-N-Out. If their world is fuck everybody, I hate everybody, if you join them in that world, you're fucking friends. And then from there, then it's like sharing the story of like, yeah, I've been there, I've been trapped. And then also too, it's like when you share with them, like, oh yeah, all this love and gratitude bullshit, I fucking hate this shit, but god damn it, it does TE work. Like it does get you out of it. And they're like, oh yeah, I hate that shit too. I'm like, oh motherfucker, I hate it so bad. But I hate this pain even worse, you know? And they're like, oh, okay. You know, you can get somewhere with them by getting down in that kind of darkness, you know?
Totally. It does seem like to connect with someone, you really have to go to the emotional level that they're at. Which for me, I think, especially with the FIs, like I have trouble with that. Like the intensity that you're talking about, I don't know if I even can go there, you know, because it's just, it's such a different feeling that I've felt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it's like, the equivalent is like with like intense TI, like, cause everything you're saying about FIFE, I'm just quickly trying to flip the math to TITE. So I can, cause if I can see the two of them, then when one of them gets unclear, I can jump to the other one. So it's like the TITE, it's like, I definitely see the tribe harmony thing. Like the fucking TI is like, we're like, hey, can we tribe harmony the tools here? Can we tribe harmony how this works? And so when we will see a TI like locking in on their way, and then especially when their way is like completely wrong and toxic and hurting them and hurting everyone around them, and like we can see that, you know, it's like we then, like you were saying, we will signal them out of like, can we go fucking help this person? Can we reason with them? Can we talk with them? Can we show them there's a better way? But then just seeing the TIs that will get locked into, you know, no, it's this branch of the astrology cult and this is how it has to be. Like, dude, this is like so off, or whatever it is that the crazy shit they're into. Knowing that like that I can't go in and help them, because it's like whatever it is that they're TI into that is also completely bullshit. Like you'd have to know it 50 layers deep, because if you don't know it, then you're one of the dumb people that don't know the truth to 50 layers deep. And so I'm like,
why would you listen to dumbasses?
Exactly. So I'm like, I don't believe all your shit. I think you're doing it completely wrong. Nor do I want to spend the fucking time to get a PhD in your silly ass TI, so I can then jump in there and help you. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can't help that guy. And then there's a lot of people that come through. I'm like, oh yeah, I fucking can't help that guy. You know, but it's the FI. I'm like, oh, I happen to have that same case of psychoness. I can't help that guy with the FI hole. You know.
Yeah.
So,
but then on the flip side, it feels like the positive of that is when the TIs lock on to like a problem that they want to solve. It's like, watch the fuck out. I mean, then you get like Bill Gates trying to solve like just major world problems, and it's like there's no stopping him.
Yeah, totally. That's what gets crazy for the TE, because we're like watching the spectrum, and then here goes somebody that just shoots up. We're like, how the hell? Now you're still violating tribe unity. How the hell did you do that?
Yeah.
And that becomes like intimidatingly aspiring. of how the hell a TI that's locked on. A lot of times too, it's like their FE, they've got to be like, I value customers, like Jeff Bezos, I value customer service or whatever. Some weird deal where their TI and FE is in some kind of a loop, and it's just working in reality. Yeah.
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 Crazy.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah.
Any other things you want to?
Well, actually, I wanted to ask you about like business stuff. I guess we kind of talked about that a little bit, but I guess to kind of channel change. So I guess it kind of sounds like Objective Personality, just like as the business, is kind of going in like a different direction. I mean, I don't know about a different direction, but you guys seem like you're changing things up, right? You got the new website. It sounds like you've hired one operator, maybe two operators.
Yeah, one. Yeah.
You're doing less YouTube. You also said you're doing kind of more community or interaction. So like what all are you guys doing? Do you feel like you're kind of in a transition period a little bit?
We're doing good. It's just the Maslow's pyramid of like the foundational business stuff is just a lot of work, a lot of time. Yeah. You know, so it's like getting the first guy trained and hired up is probably going to be like 4 years. You know, he's doing really good.
That's insane.
You know, yeah, like we don't have him anywhere near typing. It's like, it's like, can you work on Google Docs? Can you work on, because you're like, he's joining a team of like, we've been doing internet business for, 15 years or so. So it's like, we're really fast and TE efficient with how we do stuff. And like, not anybody can just jump in and like, it's a lot of training of like, okay, here's how you do Google Docs. Here's how you do communication. Here's how you do emails. Here's how you get on time. Like, okay, our car's falling apart. Let's fix the car. Like there's so much lower ended shit that's got to get done to where somebody can be consistent to show up to higher level things like phone calls or emails or going on video or typing or something like that. Something to where you'd have to show up every day consistently for 6 months to even put a dent in the project. So you can't have any low-ended stuff falling apart. And then ourselves included, like we still got to like, get rid of the old house. We're getting that one fixed up so we can get rid of that. Website stuff, like there's a lot of, like just to upload the classes there's just like hundreds of these, like just to upload the classes every night. Shandy's got to like do this web page and this web page. And because the software is old, it takes 45 minutes. And then every morning she's got to make sure that she's right there and do it by hand. So it's like building the software or hiring people to do the software to where that can now be down to 2 minutes. It's like, you got to get that done because you can't be leveling up doing these other things like, oh, stop. I need an hour. I need to go and do all this stuff by hand in this magical way to upload a class every Tuesday, Thursday. Now you're tied to that, so now you can't go work on other things. So it's just the amount of time that it takes to like actually get 101 of those actually settled just takes a while, So we're still in the phase of like getting our own foundations really, really solid, which we have most of them really, really solid, which then makes the inefficient system stand out. So whether it's typing procedure or email systems or uploading a class or the website itself or house maintenance, like when most of the departments are working in these really, really efficient boxes where you're getting so much work done in such a short amount of time, the 3 or 4 or 5, 6 areas that are not doing that are just flailing, they just become more and more obvious of like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to level up to the next thing until that department too is systematized or whatever. So we're just taking the time to get all that really, really solid because as we build, as we train the next person, we don't want to do what most businesses do or what we've done in the past. That is like, you can kind of get up the mountain pretty quick. You can do more sales and more videos and more services, but then your lower ended stuff is not super solid and it starts imploding on your weakest link, Mm-hmm. So just taking time to get all that stuff solid and stuff. And then, we're in no rush to take it to science. Like we will eventually, but we got to have like a whole team here. Otherwise, it's Dave and Shannon on the Oprah show. Now what? Type me. Okay, you're a TESC XYZ. What's that mean? I don't know. I don't know. I get out of here. Here's my fuck you page. I can't deal with the people I have now. So luckily we're also seeing that this type of personality psychology is like not going to be accepted by the mainstream or mainstream psychology. Like Benjamin had a really good interview with the lady that on his channel. Yeah. I forget her name. She seems really good.
I don't remember her name either. Genetics and personality type. Yeah.
Right. So she was expressing kind of some stuff that we were seeing. We were kind of thinking it was this way, that like normal psychology, when you come near like personality type and genetics, they're like, fake shit. We're burned out with that. We don't want anything to do with that. So it's like, you got to like fight your way in. It's not like normal science or psychology is going to be like, hey, I found you on the internet and I saw your silly ass website and I watched a bunch of your ridiculous videos with lots of swearing in it. And I totally believe you're onto something and I'd like to level this up. Like, that's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen, which is great, because it's like Shani and I want to have more time to where there could be 10 of us here, 15, 20, 30, et cetera, before we start actually dealing with grown-ups and higher level things. So it's like, I've been doing a lot of more like back to basics of studying business and stuff like that, you know.
And just in terms of the scientific aspect, I was also talking to someone the other day whose name I also forget because feminine sensory. But he was saying that this is a really interesting insight. And he was saying that psychology is different from a lot of other fields like physics, because it's not, it doesn't start at the theory. You know, physics starts at the theory and then tries to prove the theory, whereas psychology doesn't start at the theory and try to prove it. It starts from the sensory, the facts, the observations of, you know, people are having this kind of, you know, disorder, and then try to identify that and then work from there, you know, work kind of from the bottom up rather than the top down. And it's interesting because anecdotally, I mean, that's kind of seems like it's true, you know, so something like this doesn't seem like it really even fits in traditional psychology, just simply because of the way psychology is studied, which is unfortunate, because this is a theory that could be proven from, you know, the top down. Right. Which would be awesome if it is.
Yeah. That's how we view it.
Yeah.
It
I was gonna say, I mean, I come from like the lab. Like I used to do bench research as like a biochemist. So when I see something like this, you know, like a theory that has not been proven in reality, my only thought is like, oh my God, all of these scientists that are going to have to spend 30 years in a lab, like researching the different biochemical pathways that are actually causing this code to come to fruition. Like once you identify the genes are one thing, and the genes are great, but like I imagine you're going to be identifying a whole bunch of genes that you don't know the function of. And to identify the function of those genes and the pathways that are involved in that are like, I mean, like decades of work with a ton of scientists.
Yeah, exactly. Like, So that's why we're just trying to focus on foundations, get me and Shani at 110%, which we're not, and then get a handful of people here at 110%, which will take a while. And then from there, because then it's just going to be just a wild ride of like, whether it's AI or genetics or psychology or just like we're going to need to have quite a few grown-ups on staff to deal with all of these different sub departments. Like just in your own job, like being in a larger company, it's like, okay, this is your specific job and it's a lot, and it's just in this little lane, you got to do it really good. It's like Dave and Shan, who's running everything, running 50 departments all day, is the one who's like, no, we're not gonna be able to like throw challenges on that extreme and be able to do that in our spare time, you know? So the focus has been on getting our foundations and then figuring out the hiring process and the training process, which we're getting a lot of like breakthroughs and understandings of and this is like where FI throws us in a loop, because it's like a lot of the stuff that's been holding us back in training is like an FE illusion of like, oh, I like this person and I see their potential, therefore they're worth investing in. But it's like, that's not how the real job market works. The real job market works more through SEFE, where you're looking at resumes. It's like a credit card system. Like, I want to rent a house. Like, okay, well, how's your credit the past 5 years? I'm your friend, so let me in. Oh, okay. And that's how FI falls for that shit all day long. Yeah. So it's like, I want to work there. I want to do these great things. It's like, okay, I really like you, and I usually fall for that. I have to now look at what has been your track record the past 2 to 5 years. Have you been at a business level of like a higher skill level and up? Because it's like, we don't need any help on the lower ended stuff. So assistants or helpers or interns, it's like we have Amazon delivery and apps and systems. Like we got all that lower ended shit Tim Ferriss covered to the extreme. So like we need help like here up. And like this is like executive assistant level. You know, I went to college. I've have a lot of experience, like, so it's a higher level skill set up is what we need, because we need somebody that can, like, you know, do video editing and deal with customers and run to the store and fix a water pump and get in the attic, and like they've got to be kind of an executive level, you know, entrepreneur stage kind of jump in and do everything, and as well as like stop problems from hitting Dave and Shan so they can get their job done. Therefore, the person doesn't need a lot of babysit. So just a higher level skill set that we just haven't been looking for or paying attention to because our stupid FIs, you know. So now it's like, okay, we've got to get our goals for this next year towards like hiring somebody who's like that has a lot of experience running a business, you know, because it's like the person, if they happen to love personality and self-growth and the functions, fucking extra credit at this time. Like, can you do software editing? Can you put out problems? Can you run to the store? Can you self-generate? Can you actually run the business? That's what we need first. So we're kind of shifting our focus on doing that first, getting some experienced people hired. Therefore, it's a lot of shift of like, oh, then Shanny and I have got to get our stuff tightened up so we have the extra time as well as a lot of extra money to pay that higher level person to come in and do all those level things, because you can't just have like a college intern, because then they're just kind of learning as they're going, and now you're having to train them, and now you're not doing your job because you're helping junior get moving, you know.
Yeah.
So it's we've been watching a lot of this guy Valuetainment. He's on YouTube, and so just like going back to a lot of old school business stuff, you know, getting back into learning about business, because I used to do this in my 20s and 30s, like learning about business, and now I've been like running a business, so I haven't been like consuming the relevant information on how to run a business. So my FI kind of keeps leading me off the logical, rational, you know, true path of how do you actually run a business. So it's like a smack back of like, I feel like I'm at night going to college, like getting back into the business world and looking at hiring and systems and all that stuff. And then especially in the modern age, you know, because tools are more efficient now, as well as like where we are at this level in the business. Because it's like, okay, we have attained a certain level of success in a startup, year number 3, going on year number 4, you can pay your own bills, things are moving. Like, okay, we've gotten up the business rung pretty good. What's the next steps? Like, oh, the next steps are you got to hire people. And when you talk to people in the business world, like, oh, that one's a real pain in the ass. Like, it's like a huge sound barrier that's really hard to get through. But then once that code is cracked, once you learn how to hire and fire and do job descriptions and what the hell are you even looking for? Oh, I guess it's actually called a sensor executive assistant. You can Google search that word. It's not an operator. What the hell does that NIFI mean? You know, it's like you can start to get this a little bit more systematized, and then start the process of hiring and firing 20 people. And then you get your first one. Then from there, according to everybody else in the business world, it gets a lot easier. So that's kind of where we're now focusing for the next year, is building that staff up, you know, one at a time. And then once we've got however long it takes, you know, the bottleneck is us. Once we've got a good staff of 10, 20, 30 people, we're like, okay, we can cover all the different things that we're responsible for. Then we'll look about being more offensive. Let's start pushing. Let's go take ground. Let's take this to science. Let's take this to a company or whatever. Because right now we're just on defense trying to grow, you know. There's my my business blaster overview.
God damn, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, there you go. Sporadic details sprinkled in.
Yeah. Well, your SF is certainly getting a lot better. Your background is lovely and your website is lovely now.
And my sweatshirt is rather bright.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It is.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before I stop the recording?
No, that's it. You gave me a lot to process with the, I'm going to be processing the FE calibrating in the tribe's emotional states. I mean, it's all stuff we teach and know, but like, I'm just starting to see it more in real life. So yeah, I'm full.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, bye YouTube.
All right. Bye YouTube.